Well, it's now or never. I have a bit of a WIP problem, and I know I'm not the only one because I am, after all, posting this on YouTube. So let's get started. I know that lots of us have a WIP problem, a yarn stash problem, a start new projects, never finish problem. And just to prove before we get started that I can finish something, yeah, let's start with a couple of finished objects, just so I can give you all the impression that I do actually finish things. I don't just start things. This I almost said knit. This I crocheted out of Knit Picks DK Weight City Tweed. I happen to have these three colors in my stash. I remember when I bought them, I don't remember if I had something specific in mind when I bought them. I'm absolutely certain that it was an add to cart kind of day. That's why I bought them. I discovered crochet in 2024 and it has been a complete game changer. Knitting is my first love. I love knitting. I feel like I am becoming an accomplished knitter. Crochet, on the other hand, is so fast. I'm gonna just say I think that it's easier compared to some of the debacles I've gotten myself into with knitting projects. I think crochet is easier. It goes faster and it uses up a lot more yarn. I was able to make this in about a week, which I thought was freaking phenomenal. I couldn't believe I had made it so fast. And one of the things that has stopped me from knitting more garments is the amount of yarn it takes. Well, I mean, that doesn't really bother me anymore though, because I have so much yarn, but really how long it takes, how much yarn I need to make a size that fits me and feels comfortable. And yeah, I mean, I think I just said this, but the amount of time that it takes, it feels overwhelming to me. So I've only attempted to knit one sweater, which is part of the WIP pile. We're going on 2 years. I'm seriously thinking that it's something that's going to get frogged, but this is a complete game changer in terms of garments. I really, really love it. I do have one other garment that I crocheted. I made a hexie cardigan. I did make it out of acrylic yarn because I thought the yarn was so incredibly beautiful. It was a Caron Cake cinnamon swirl, I think it was. And I just thought the yarn was so pretty. I really wanted to make a hexie cardigan. And I was trying it on as I was making it, but it still turned out way too big. I mean, insanely too big. It's also very hot and very heavy. So even when I'm really cold and I need a cardigan, when I put this thing on, I'm just sweating within a few minutes. And because it's so big and so oversized and so heavy from being acrylic, it's at this point not really wearable, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, even though I love it and I think it's so pretty. So this is where I'm at with actual finished objects. I'll start with the WIP. I knew I was going to record this video, and I still started something new last night, but hear me out because I think you're going to like this one. Summer Lee has I think it's just called a scrappy scarf pattern, where you take your scraps, you hold it double with some worsted weight yarn, and that's exactly what I did. I sort of gathered up, I just gathered up scraps from socks that I had already knit, and I had 2 hanks of worsted weight bare, this is just superwash merino yarn, and I thought I really do want to go ahead and make this scrappy scarf. Now I cast on a lot more stitches. I'm not even sure what she put in her pattern for casting on. I was planning to cast on 48, and I'm using 16-inch needles. But I was so worried last night when I cast this on that 48 wasn't long enough that I think I ended up casting on about 66. So it's going to be a big scarf, but it's just one of these things where you knit a gigantic tube. I will make sure that I knit this to be at least 6 feet long, if not 7. I'll single crochet the ends together. We have these nice juicy stitches here at the bottom. This is just a long tail cast on, and I think that this will turn out really nice. I already just did this in one evening, so I think this will be super fun to work on. So I definitely have a whole category of things where I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not going to frog that. I'm going to work on it for as long as it takes to work on it. So this is the Mooncat Shawl by Kelly McClure. This is kind of exciting because I'm knitting my own hand spun. Yeah, I do spin. I haven't spun anything in a couple of months, but I've got some spinning content coming, and I have this Knit Picks palette. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to finally use up some of my hand spun? And I had this Knit Picks palette, which I thought matched really, really well. And it also kind of matches the colorway that she had, the different colorways that she used in her pattern. And here, I can show you what this originally looks like. So this is Malabrigo Cloud, and it's the colorway Archangel. I got this at Stephen B in Minneapolis. It was really fun to spin, and I think I just did a 2-ply. Yeah, I think I just did a 2-ply. And it's knitting up really well. I have a ton of hand spun yarn, and I haven't really knit with hardly any of it. I mean, I think I have one hat that I've knit with my hand spun. It's just being gathered right now. And part of the problem is that I never really spin enough to do anything. I haven't spun anything with nylon for sock knitting, although I suppose I could just combine it and do like some DK or sport weight socks. I have 2 more of these, and I'm thinking that I will spin these up so I can do another crochet top. I'm spinning right now. I mean, what I would say, this is probably like a fingering to sport weight. We're a little tangled here. This is like a fingering to a sport weight. So if I spun another 2-ply like this and held it double, I have a ton of fingering weight, just bare fingering weight yarn. I know I could hold it double and do maybe another crochet top, so that's a possibility. But this is, I haven't worked on this in a couple of months. I want to get back to working on this. I think it looks really pretty. I think this Knit Picks palette that I happen to have that matched so well will look really nice. So yeah, this is definitely not getting frogged. If I could finish this anytime in 2025, I would be completely happy. Okay, so this is a mystery knit along shawl from Sweet Georgia. This was the mystery knit along from, gosh, 2023. And I managed to get the first clue done in about a weekend. And I mean, I know there's a couple mistakes here, but they're not noticeable at all. I will say that this sort of cured me of any desire to do any future mystery knit-alongs. I think what I discovered is that mystery means it's probably going to be kind of hard, and it's not going to be the mindless knitting that I personally really enjoy. It's the type of knitting where I have to sit at my desk, I have to have the pattern and the instructions in front of me, and I have to be really focused on what I'm doing, and I don't particularly enjoy that. So as beautiful as this is, I do want to finish it, but I'm not prioritizing it. If I could finish this anytime in 2025, I would be happy. I did buy the Sweet Georgia yarn to go with it. And what are the colorways here? This is the Tough Love sock in rainbow sprinkles. This is the Jam Tart, and this is a superwash merino cashmere and stellina. And this is also a Tough Love sock in papaya. And I thought all of these were so beautiful. So I have no regrets exactly that I started working on this. I just haven't been really that excited about it. So I think that I will prioritize getting it done sometime in 2025. But if I'm being honest, I'm just not super excited to work on it because of the amount of tension the amount of attention that is required in order to work on it. It's not my style of knitting, and I guess I'm glad that I figured that out. Yeah, it really cured me of wanting to do any sort of mystery knit along in the future. So these, not sure what's in these, so we're gonna find out together. So this one I think is a headband. Yes. Okay, oh, and let me show you the other one. So this is the Cozy Cable Ear Warmer pattern. And this is my first time doing cables. It went really fast. I didn't do a super good job Kitchener-ing this together, but it's not too bad. I do like this, but the gauge is really, really loose. So when I wear it, it doesn't really hug my head the way I like it to. It's okay. I definitely have worn this outside and it keeps me warm. I live in Minnesota. It gets very cold here in the winter, but I have just enough of this Lion Brand Hue and Me to do this again at maybe just a slightly, I think I'm just gonna go down like one needle size to see if I could just get like a slightly tighter gauge. I mean, really, I should put this at the top of the list, because if I just sat down and did it, I know I could do it in a day or a weekend and just get it done and off my list. So I think this is gonna move to the top of the pile. Let's see what the next thing is. I'm honestly trying to remember. Oh yeah, okay, it's a pair of socks. So I can tell you with 100% certainty that I'm not frogging any socks. I love knitting socks. It's one of those things where even I was surprised, because when I started knitting about 3.5 years ago and I saw that people were knitting socks, I was just like, why? Can't you just go to Target and get socks? And then I decided to try it, and it was hard. I thought it was really hard. I did the Summerly I'm So Basic sock pattern, which I really love. I think it's such a terrific sock pattern, but it took me a year of on and off knitting to knit my first pair of socks. Which is kind of ridiculous, but now it's my go-to pattern. I use it for pretty much everything. This is the one, a Zauberball, is that what it's called? I don't remember the name of this. I got this at my local yarn shop. Yeah, and I'm using just Knit Pick Stroll for the cuff and the heel. I don't think this is good yarn for a cuff or a heel, just my opinion. I think something like Knit Pick Stroll or anything that's just a little softer and squishier like this. So I'll probably use one of these for the toe. I'm not sure which, but I should definitely finish this. Yeah, I should definitely finish this. So this, I'm going to move this, I'm going to move all the socks to the top of the pile, because it doesn't take me that long to knit a pair of socks at this point. I can knit a pair of socks in about 10 days. I mean, I have a full-time job. I have other responsibilities, other things to do. I spend pretty much all of my free time knitting, and like anything, I can prioritize the things that I really want to do. But I really, really enjoy sock knitting, which was so unexpected for me when I decided to start knitting. I just thought it was so crazy that people knit socks, and now I can't get enough of it, and I'm actually rather proud of the socks that I've knit. So I've got some more socks to show you, but for sure we'll get these done. All right, boy, I'm enjoying this little trip down memory lane. So first I have this is a Pacific Knit Co. This is the Valentine Doodle Cowl. Yeah, and this is from 2024. I have a few of her patterns. I mean, I follow this gal on Instagram, and she is spectacular. Oh my gosh, it's so impressive. I started working on this. I didn't quite have the right yarn for this, but I was so anxious to start working on this. I grabbed 2 balls of spin cycle that I had, and of course I had no plan for. This is Sport Weight Knit Pick Stroll. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. And I was like, and I feel like spin cycle is kind of sport weight. And I remember when I was knitting this, the evening that I worked on this, I felt like the gauge was just completely off. Not that gauge super matters. It doesn't matter at all at this point because it's a cowl. But I just remember feeling like the stitches didn't look the way I thought they should. So I kind of set this aside and I was like, oh, I'll frog it. I don't know if I'll finish it. And that was several months ago. Now I come back and look at it, and this isn't the first time I've made an observation like this, where when I'm knitting, the gauge, the stitches just don't look quite right. Like they're a little tight, they don't look right, everything doesn't look like it's kind of meshing together. Oh, and fun fact, I mean, I haven't done a ton of color work. I've done a couple of very minor color work projects, so this is maybe the most intense color work that I've done. With the exception of one other thing that I have to show you. But my point is, this isn't the first time I've made this observation where I've knit something, not thought that it looked quite right, and then come back maybe a week or 2 weeks or a month later, and it's like the stitches all just kind of settle into one another. They just sort of like, they just like cozy in and they snuggle in, and they just all of a sudden sort of look like they belong together, and that's how I feel about this. It looks, I think the gauge looks just fine. I think these stitches look just fine. I'm actually really happy with how this looks. It's a very, very detailed cowl, so I'm probably not going to prioritize this over some of the things that I know would be like easy wins, but I'm definitely not frogging this. I will finish this in 2025. I will. Okay, so this next one I love. Of course, I only have one done. So this is a watermelon sock pattern from Julianne Louboutet, Twin Stitches Designs on YouTube. She has a great YouTube channel. She does a ton of knitting. She has a lot of sock patterns. I saw this watermelon sock pattern very early in my knitting journey, and I immediately bought the pattern before I had ever even thought of actually knitting a sock. And once I finally knit my first sock, I dove into this, and I did this in a few days. I mean, I did it so fast. Now, I don't particularly like afterthought heels. I do prefer a heel flap and gusset. So being that this has an afterthought heel, and I know that this heel, even when I do extra rounds before I start the heel, doesn't really give me enough room for my instep. Add into it that these little seeds are also color work, and this sock is really not wearable. So that's why I never really finished the second sock. Now I am going to finish the second sock, and I bought the yarn from Moonglow Yarn Co. So this was actually, I think, a sock pattern that they had done in 2022, and then Moonglow Yarn Co. re-released this colorway in 2023, which is why I bought it and finally decided to do it. And I am going to finish the second sock, and I'm going to do it exactly as the pattern describes. But I went through my own stash, and I was like, Angela, you actually have yarn you could have used. So I had these from Knit Picks. These are the colorways Strawberry and Pea Pod. This is, I don't remember the name of it, but this is also Knit Pick Stroll. I think I had some yarn barf, so I wound it up. I did do a swatch here. Now these are from some fingering weight sock yarn from Joann. It is very, very thin though. So I did a swatch to see how the Knit Picks and this very thin yarn from Joann would play together. And I don't really think it's noticeable. I think it turned out just fine. So here's the stroll here, here, and here. And this is the yarn from Joann. And then I was trying to be clever, so I dyed this yarn myself. This is bare yarn that I got from Webs, and then I tried to speckle the black on, and it's not my best work speckling. So it got a little muddy But I'm gonna try this and then I'm gonna re-knit the watermelon socks, but I'm going to do a heel flap and gusset and we'll see how it goes. I'm on the quest basically to knit the perfect watermelon socks. Yeah, overall, this has been a delightful adventure to knit the perfect watermelon sock. So I have no regrets. I'm absolutely going to finish knitting the other watermelon sock. Once I get a couple other socks knit, I mean, I'll try to get this done by summer, and then I'm gonna start working on additional watermelon socks inspired by Twin Stitches designs. And yes, we will definitely get this done. Okay, I don't know if this really counts as a WIP because I haven't started it, but I have it set aside. This is yarn from a fiber festival that I was just at. It was the Fall Fiber Festival, and this is called the pattern is called the Old Shale Lace Infinity Scarf, and this was written by, her name is Andrea Seifert from CurleeAcres.com, and she is a shepherdess here in Minnesota. She has Shetland sheep, and her yarn is really, really lovely. I have quite a bit of her yarn, and this is what I have. So again, I hadn't exactly started this, but she was giving away this pattern and I was buying the yarn anyways. So I got it into a bag. I got it into a bag here, and I am definitely going to knit this. I don't know when, but this is going to stay on the WIP pile, and as soon as I can knock out maybe 1 or 2 other projects, I'm going to start this one. So this one stays. Okay, I have more socks. So, well, I have socks and I have a shawl. So this is, I heard about this pattern on Wool Needles Hands. This is the Lone Skein shawl by Hoki Locatelli. And I started this, been at least a year. Maybe it's been 2 years. I started it a while ago. I mean, I actually have revisited this recently, and I discovered that I was further along than I remembered being. I mean, I think I did all of this in one evening. I don't know why I haven't finished this. I really want to though. I don't want to frog this. I think the shawl is so pretty. I think this yarn is incredibly pretty. So this, we're absolutely not frogging. I am going to finish this. And there are things that I'm going to frog here. I'm just showing you the things that I really don't want to frog. The things that I decide to keep, the things I decide to keep working on, I'm just setting a goal to get done sometime this year with no guarantees that I won't start another project, because I started this 2 weeks ago and I got it done in a week. So I still want to be open to trying new things and starting new things. I just want to prioritize wrapping up some of these things that have been sitting for so long. Okay, so I have more socks. And again, this is just the Summerly I'm So Basic, or is it I'm So Basic or Oh So Basic? And I finished this. This is yarn from, it's a 2-ply merino nylon blend. It is from, hang on, where is it from? This is from Polka Dot Sheep Farms. I think they're in Montana or Wyoming or Colorado. I got this at my local yarn shop. I've also gotten some of their yarn from Wool & Company in Illinois. And this is Sisu from Sandisgarn. Now, I don't love this yarn. I mean, I think it's okay. It's not my favorite, and I have quite a bit of it, so this is probably going to end up being destashed because I just don't love it. I don't love how it feels. I like this. I think this feels lovely, and I do like the fabric that I get from a 2-ply yarn, which is quite different from fabric from a 4-ply yarn. It's very rustic. It feels incredibly sturdy, but there's something about this this Sandnes Garn yarn that I don't love. So I will finish this pair of socks, but I'm probably going to end up destashing the rest of this yarn. Okay, so I have yarn in here for another sock that I technically haven't started yet. This is from Hedgehog Fibers, but I don't remember the colorway. It's not PB&J, it's something else, maybe Lobster? I'm not sure. And then this is some Knit Pick Stroll in Pucker that I was going to use for heel, toes, and cuff. So, but I'm not going to start this until I get a couple other socks. Not all of them, but a couple, at least 2 pairs of socks. Once I get 2 more pairs of socks finished, I am going to start these because I love having lots of socks to work on. This is, well, we've got, again, Knit Pick Stroll in navy, and then this is Cascade. Hang on, what is this? I went to go find which yarn this was, and I found 2 more WIPs. So this yellow is Cascade Heritage, and I really just wanted to do blue and yellow stripes. And I liked the effect of this slipping every other stitch from the watermelon pattern. So I just decided to make a pair of socks like this, and I really, really like them. So I will definitely finish these. I'm looking at all these socks and I'm like, why haven't you finished these? These are not hard. Once I get past the heel, I should be able to get the rest of the foot and the toe done in like 2 or 3 evenings. So I don't know what I'm waiting for here. Then I found, because, what did I say? I will never promise to not start another WIP. So this is sort of a recent acquisition, this Knit Picks Felici, and I have several, I have like 3 other colorways. I think I have Sealed with a Kiss, Lisa, and something more neutral with like yellow and blue. I'll have to go dig that out and see if I can find it, but I don't remember what the name of it is. This is the colorway Cactus Flower, which I think is very pretty. I actually saw this on Instagram and I was like, yes, I have to have that. And I decided to do this heel a little bit different. Normally I do that slip stitch reinforced heel, and I decided this time to just do a garter stitch heel, and I really like it. I think it looks really cool. I think it looks nice and squishy. So I need to get this done. I think I started this 2 weeks ago, and I got this done in just a couple of evenings. This did not take me long at all. So once again, the theme of this video is, what am I waiting for? So I will get these done. And then I think on back-to-back nights, I started this color work pair of mittens. So this pattern is the Østavind Mittens by Berg of Norway. I have to be super focused on this in order to follow the chart. I would say this is probably the most complex color work I've done, maybe besides the Pacific Knit Co. Cowl. But again, I did this in like 2 evenings. So I think I stopped working on this. I started this one night, then I started working on these socks the next night, and then like 3 nights later, I started working on this sweater vest. I was on vacation for the holidays from work, so I had time on my hands and I was really excited to do some knitting. So I for sure want to finish this, and I'm using Patton's worsted Patton's Classic Wool Worsted. Man, this stuff is really phenomenal. I mean, it's great yarn. The colors are so vibrant. It's nice and toothy, so it grips really well. I don't know. I really enjoyed knitting this so far, so 100% I'm going to finish these mittens. Yeah, none of this is getting frogged. So next, it's technically not a WIP yet, but it's about to become a WIP. And I actually did a video on dyeing this yarn. This is the same worsted weight yarn that I got to do the scrappy scarf. This is worsted weight superwash merino yarn from webs.com, or I think it's just yarn. Is it yarn.com, but the company's called Webs. I think this yarn, okay, I'm just gonna say a few things about the yarn. I don't hate it. I think the color turned out beautiful, and I'm very excited to make what I'm about to make with this. But one of these had a ton of knots. Yeah, you can see it right here. So one of these just had a ton of knots, which was pretty disappointing when dyeing yarn. Well, anytime you have nice wool yarn, it's disappointing to find knots. I dyed this yarn for my sister. It was supposed to be her Christmas/birthday present. I got as far as getting the yarn dyed. I was not actually able to make the thing. And the thing is a hat and a pair of mittens. So I probably, considering the WIP pile that I have and that her Christmas and her birthday have now come and gone, and I've more than made up gift-wise for both of those events. These are probably going to be gift knits for next winter, but she's seen the yarn, she loves the yarn, and I don't think that she's upset with me that I didn't get these knit yet. And I do have a video coming on how I dyed this yarn. I'm a big fan of ChemKnits tutorials, and Rebecca, her tutorials on dyeing yarn are phenomenal. I would say that I'm a very casual dyer. I do really enjoy it, and she's got some methods like she calls it cold processing or shoebox dyeing that are a lot of fun, and they're sort of, I call it low commitment dyeing, because I can start it one night and then finish it 2 or 3 nights later, and I love that, and it comes out perfect every time. So yeah, I'm definitely a casual dyer, and I've got videos coming up on how I dyed this yarn. And once I get started actually knitting this hat and mitten set, I will let you know. Wow, we're actually getting towards the end. So, okay, well, let's start with this. So this is yarn that I got from I think it was the last Knit Crate, which I don't remember how long ago that was. Was that a year ago? Signed up for Knit Crate and ended up getting the very last one before they went out of business. And I decided that I was going to knit a seed stitch cowl. However, I don't love the fabric. And this is a 40% alpaca, 30% wool, 30% Surrey alpaca worsted weight. I think the yarn itself is so soft and squishy, but I also know from experience that alpaca is very scratchy for me, and the seed stitch pattern is very rough. So I'm questioning finishing this because I don't think this is going to be particularly comfortable, and I've just sort of lost my excitement for working on this. So I think that I am going to frog this, and I'm undecided what I'm going to do with this yarn. I might destash this yarn. But I haven't decided yet. I have some destash content coming. I, like everybody else, tend to buy more yarn than I actually need. And yeah, I want to sort of correct that problem in 2025. I either want to get things knit or crocheted or sold and out of my home. I don't mind having a little bit of a stash, but not the stash that I currently have. So it's a priority for me to sort of get this under control, which is really the point of starting recording these videos. Next, I want to talk about, wow, I'm really running out of room here. Baskets of yarn and fiber everywhere. Part of me loves it, and part of me is like, this is out of control. This is a crochet project. So this is a crochet pattern from Fiber Flux, whose YouTube channel I really enjoy. And I don't have the written pattern for this, and I don't even remember the name of the written pattern. Maybe it's the Lemon Drop Cowl. This is Cascade 220 Superwash Merino. I don't know if I'm like a super fan of this yarn. I like it maybe. I would like to see what this yarn looks like knit. Maybe that's it. This is a cowl. Again, the theme of this video so far is why haven't I finished this? Because I did this, I want to say, in a 3 or 4 day weekend. I mean, I got this done really, really fast, and I just have to finish crocheting this ball and it will be done and I can join it and it'll be finished. When I saw the video on YouTube, I tried to crochet this very early in my, sort of, we'll call it fiber journey, and I didn't have a good enough handle yet on crochet. So I started this again last summer, and I picked it up really, really quickly. I would say that this was the first sort of major crochet thing that I worked on last summer, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, this for sure is going to get done. So again, I just need to I'm going to try to rank everything in order of prioritizing, and I have a tendency to want to get the easiest things done first. So once I'm done, I'm going to go through and rank everything easiest to hardest, because I want easy wins, and I want to get these things knocked off my list as soon as possible. So this is a keep. This is definitely a keep. This is another crochet project from Fiber Flux. A little less excited about this. So first off, this yarn is some of my favorite yarn. This is Knit Picks Woodland Tweed, and I have one other thing that I did already knit with this. I made this cowl, which I adore. It is so beautiful, and it was a pattern that was specific to this yarn. So naturally I ran out and I bought a ton of this yarn, not really having a plan for it at all. But then I saw this pattern also on Fiber Flux, and I think this is called the French Buttercream Wrap. I'm pretty sure that's what this is called. And I'm really undecided on whether or not I'm going to finish this. There's a lot left to do. That doesn't bother me. The amount of crocheting there is left to get this done. What I don't like about this is that I can never remember how to end these rows and turn. Now looking at it, it looks fine. But I can tell you that I had to rewatch the video like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. I had to write it down, and I have to keep my notes with me every time I get to the end of the row to remember how to turn. And it's different on this side than it is on this side. And again, looking at it, it's fine. It's not noticeable, but I can tell you it's a frustrating enough experience doing it that it makes me not want to finish this, especially when I see how much more there is to go. I mean, how much do I even have done here? So 16, yeah, this is 18 inches. And I mean, the wrap is supposed to be like 5 or 6 feet long. I don't know if I have it in me to keep going for 3.5 more feet, 4.5 more feet. So I think I'm going to end up frogging this. I'm like 80% sure that I'm going to end up frogging this, because especially now that I figured out how to make these beautiful sweaters, and I can eat up a lot of yarn very quickly, literally, and like literally I could make another sweater like this in a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, and I could eat up so much of this yarn. These are only 180 yards. So yeah, and I have a bunch of this. So I think that this is going to get frogged, and I can repurpose this yarn in a way that is much more enjoyable. It doesn't stress me out. I can remember what I'm doing. Yeah, so I think this needs to be frogged. You know, I'm thinking that this yarn from Curlee Acres yes, I'm going to do this, but technically this is not a WIP. So I think that this just needs to be put away until I can get to it. I don't think this needs to sit in the WIP pile. This is a frog. And this is a frog. These are all socks, so I know I'm keeping all of them. So let's look at them, shall we? So this pair of socks, this is a pattern I got off of Etsy, and these are called the Cromulent Socks. And when I saw this on Etsy, I fell in love. I don't really think of myself as being like a lace type of gal, but there was something about these socks that I just thought were so beautiful, and I had to have them. So I wouldn't say, well, first of all, I'm using Patton's Croy sock yarn, which I really like this yarn. I don't think this is fingering weight yarn. I think this is more like sport weight yarn, but I do really like this yarn. And I did technically start the other sock. So we'll just talk about this one first. The gauge is a little bit off. I wouldn't say that the pattern isn't written well, but I would say that the gauge that the designer specified wasn't quite right. I mean, at this point, I've knit enough pair of socks to know what my gauge is. Even if I'm using Patton's Croy, I know what my gauge is, and I know how much to cast on. And the gauge was just sort of off. The other thing that I had a hard time with is, okay, so we got everything done. We got everything done to where I did the heel flap and the gusset, but the pattern, the lace pattern, just sort of ends in a very awkward place for where the heel and the decreases are. And now the lace pattern just only carries up through the instep or the top of the foot. So you can kind of see it here in the picture. And it's just a little bit awkward. It's not bad. It's not anything I can't handle, but it's just a little bit awkward the way the pattern works for this lace. So I just hate to say anything bad because I do think the socks are beautiful and I love them. They're going to be a little bit too big because the gauge is off a little bit. And so, you know, here's me saying I've knit enough socks to know what my gauge is, to not have to worry about that. But I was still kind of trying to follow the recommendation that was in the pattern. And it's just they're gonna be a little bit big. So they're gonna be like socks I probably just wear around the house. These aren't socks I don't think I'm gonna be able to wear with a pair of shoes because I think they're just gonna be too big. But I do really love the pattern. I think it's beautiful. I love this lace, and I will for sure finish these socks sometime this year. I'm not gonna prioritize these over the other socks that I have because I'm looking for easy wins to get some of these WIPs done, and I know I can like knock out those other socks because they're just vanilla socks. So, and I did technically start the second sock. So we'll get this going. Okay, next. Oh yes. Yes, I remember you. Okay, so this is hand-dyed yarn that I got from, oh, this is done. Yes, I do remember working on this. I was working on this a couple of weeks ago. Okay, good. This sock is done. I just have to Kitchener this toe together and this will be done. This is hand-dyed yarn that I got from, I think it's called, it was a dye yarn on Etsy, Birch Grove by Christina. I don't remember the name of this colorway. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Birch Grove and Wildflowers. Yeah, Birch Grove by Christina. Again, logged in Etsy, saw this hand-dyed yarn. I also follow this gal on Instagram, and she has some beautiful hand-dyed yarn. I really love a nice 2-ply sock base. And these are turning out really, really well. I am using US 1.5. I normally do a US 1 when I'm knitting socks, but for this I did a 1.5. And I think the fabric's turning out really beautiful. For this little pop of color at the cuff, I'm using this Hobie 4-ply sock wool. I don't like it. This to me feels very similar to the Sandnesgarn Sisu, and it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's a little bit rustic feeling. And I have several balls of this, so these are going to be destashed because I just don't like them. My preference is I like the Cascade Heritage sock yarn. I think the gold standard sock yarn is Knit Pick Stroll. I'm just saying, I feel like I've knit with a lot of sock yarns at this point, and I think Knit Pick Stroll is like just so nice. So I'm going to, of course, finish the other sock and make sure that it matches. I just don't love this yarn. So, but I will, of course, finish this sock. I completely forgot. I remember working on this a couple weeks ago, and I think that it was late at night, and I was tired, and I knew I just needed to Kitchener this toe together. But I also know that what my Kitchener looks like if I'm tired. So I'm pretty sure that's why I put this away. So I will for sure Kitchener this toe together, finish this sock, cast on the other one, and we will get these done. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, yes. All right, so this is, shoot, where's the pattern though? Oh, dang it. Ooh, oh, we have drop stitches. Hang on. Ooh, I don't know where the pattern is for this. Hang on. So this is the, okay, now we have to download. Yeah, this was the pattern for Shetland Wool Week this fall. And this is the Islesburgh Toorie. So this is the hat. They have it in a couple different colorways here. I'm doing a variation of this, but my gosh, they're all so beautiful. Yeah, I got this yarn from Andrea Seifert at Curlee Acres Farm. This is Shetland wool, and I did start working on it. The gauge is a little loose, but that's okay. Yeah, this I'm definitely going to continue to work on. I have extra of her fingering weight yarn. She had like these little kits, these little bundles ready to go, and then I just had to buy the pattern separately. So I don't think that I'm going to have enough yarn from her kit or her bundle to finish this, but like I said, that's why I bought extra when I bought the fingering weight yarn, so I could do the cowl. So I have enough for this. This is, I'm not going to frog this. I'm definitely going to do this. Like I said, I think the gauge is a little bit big. I mean, the sizing was basically like change your gauge in order to change your size. And I did the biggest gauge, which was a US size 3 needle. Plus it's, you know, this is basically one of my first attempts at color work. So the gauge is a little loose because of that too. I'm kind of getting used to that, but you know what? It's fine. It's just, it's not, oh shoot, I'm losing another stitch. There we go. I should put a, hang on, I should put a like, yeah, look at that, that's perfect. The greatest thing about using non-superwash yarn is being able to wet splice together your ends when you do a change, like a color change. I mean, fantastic. The only ends I have to weave in are from when I started. Everything else, I've just done a wet splice to start the new row. So yeah, love that. One of my favorite reasons for using non-superwash yarn. By the way, just to be clear, I love all yarn. I love all yarn, even acrylic. If it's yarn, I love it. If it's pretty, if it feels soft, I love it. So this is a sweater that I've been working on for about 2 years, and I'll just tell you now, this is going to be a frog. I just know that this is going to be a frog. This is knit with Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool. This is the, I don't remember the name of the colorway. It's the tweed colorway. I think it's going to be too big. The fabric is gorgeous. The yarn, gorgeous. I mean, I have no complaints about the fabric at all. I definitely have spent a long time working on this. This is a pattern, a free pattern from Ravelry called, I think it's just called the Southwind. It was just a free raglan pattern. When I started this a couple years ago, it was a complete mystery to me what these seams were. I remember thinking that you made this by doing the body and the arms, and that these were like, this was attached. This is how you attach the arm, attached the arms. So when I started following the pattern and doing this raglan, I mean, I was in absolute awe that I was doing this, that I was actually able to do this. And it just removes so much of the mystery of sweater knitting. It took me a long time because it is so stinking big. I mean, I'm just so used to always knitting the largest size of everything. It didn't occur to me, even though I did a gauge swatch, it didn't occur to me to really take my measurements and make sure that I was knitting the right size. Because again, I think even if I had done that, I still would have done it the way I did, because I'm just so used to always doing the largest size of everything. It didn't occur to me that this would probably be too big. And I know now just from looking at it, it's going to be too big. So I think that this yarn does not serve me if I continue to knit this sweater and I don't like it and it doesn't fit the way I like. So this sweater is going to be frogged, and I'm going to save this yarn and repurpose it and wait and do another raglan when I'm ready. Right now, I just don't have a deep desire to knit a sweater. I would rather crochet a sweater. I enjoy the process. It uses a lot of yarn very quickly, and I can get the piece done really quickly. That's what I would prefer to do right now. And I'm just tired of looking at this. I'm tired of just having this sit here. I'm not excited to work on it. Every time I work on it, I'm like, you're not gonna fit. I know you're not gonna fit. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and frog this. I don't even know how much, actually, you know what we could do? We could just weigh this. I'll do it. I'm not even gonna frog this today. I'm gonna put it back in the bag, and I'm gonna get a couple of the things done. And I might do a video just where I frog things and show you how I wash yarn, because this isn't the first time that I've gone through my WIPs and done a bunch of frogging, and I actually find that to be a very enjoyable process where I frog things. I wash the yarn, I put the yarn away. I'm also fine with destashing. I have an entire bin right now of yarn that I'm getting ready to list on eBay to sell and destash, because I know I'm not going to knit with it. I know it was yarn that were just add to cart. I was just having an add to cart kind of day, and I have no real interest in continuing to keep it in my stash. I think the real tragedy is when we have fiber and yarn in our stash that doesn't get used. And I have a lot. So I do plan to record more content where I really make tough decisions, going through my stash, pulling things out, and seeing if we can find new homes. So I think that that's going to be an important part of 2025. And, you know, and I'm not here to say that your stash or I'm just going to speak about myself, that my stash has to be a certain size. I don't have a number, or I don't have a number. I'm not going to count skeins. I'm not going to weigh or count yards or count grams or count ounces. I just want to be able to look at what I have and feel comfortable with what I have. And right now I feel a lot uncomfortable with what I have. And I want to change some of that this year. So this is a frog. So to recap, the sweater is a frog. This crochet shawl is a frog. This merino, is it merino alpaca cowl? This is a frog. And I want to keep this yarn, but I'm probably going to destash this yarn. The mystery knit along is going to be last. I will finish it. I promise. I want to finish it. It's going to be last. I would say that all of these socks are near the top in terms of prioritizing. Yeah, near the top. So is this pair of socks and this color work mitten. The number one thing I'm going to do is work on, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this in a tighter gauge, and this is going to be the first thing that I get done. This will be the first thing that I get done. This is the other sock that kind of gets lumped in with the rest. So how many socks do I even have? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 8 pairs of socks. I am committed to finishing all 8 pairs of socks. All of them. I bet I could do 8 pairs of socks, because they're all like half done, in a month. I wonder if I could get them all done by January, the end of January. I'm gonna shoot for the end of January. I think I could do it, because they're all like half done. I don't know, that seems aggressive though, because even if they're half done, that's literally 2 socks a week, and I can't knit 2 socks a week. So let's say by March 1st, yeah, let's say by March 1st, we have all of the socks knit and I don't start any new pairs of socks. Yeah, so cozy cable ear warmer and all socks knit by March 1st. And that will be a huge, huge part of the WIP pile. And then if I could also make time to do all of the frogging by March 1st, I think that's a great goal. If I can do all the frogging and all of the socks by March 1st, and then revisit the WIP situation. Yeah. And then April, May, June, I started working on shawls and cowls for April, May, June, and July. That's a lot of time to work on shawls and cowls. And then maybe this fall I could do the Doodle cowl and finish working on this mystery knit along. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good plan. And then there's all the other stuff that I do in between, right? I don't really need a new pair of mittens for this winter, but I will need a new pair of mittens soon. So if I could have these done in time for next winter, I would be perfectly fine with that. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good plan. And then there's everything else that I do, right? There's the hat and the mittens for my sister for next winter. So that's the other thing, is I need to come up with a plan for gift knitting that really starts this summer. I can't start gift knitting in October and November. That does not work. So let's just try to get ourselves to March 1st, see how things go with these socks, see what new things I start, and take it from there. So if you enjoyed this video, give me a like, subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and I'll see you in my next one.